You know, I swear liberals get some kind of a sick joy out of using tragedy to push an agenda. The bending and shaping of the narrative, factual or not, has become like a sport for these journ activists. And the horrific shooting of 8 innocent people at an Allen, Texas outlet mall on Saturday was no different. As the nation was learning about this horrific and random act of evil, journalists in the mainstream media were manifesting the shooter to be a neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, a Trumper. He used a firearm that already had them salivating, but if they could also tie him to whiteness or conservatism, that would be like hitting the jackpot for them. But then, reality, the actual truth, the fact of the matter sunk in, and wouldn't you know it, the suspect who was shot dead by a valiant Allen police officer doesn't appear to be white and also targeted what appears to be predominantly white shoppers. So here you go, folks. Meet 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia. Does he look like the face of white supremacy to you? So now it'll go back to the gun. But unsurprisingly, the outlet mall he chose to target and shoot up is a gun-free zone. Weird, it's almost like murderers and monsters don't really give a damn about your laws, liberals. Kind of like the illegal immigrant who executed 5 people last weekend, Francisco Oropesa, or the transgender Nashville shooter who chose to shoot up the Christian school knowing it was a soft target. What do all of those incidents have in common besides the perp not giving a rat's ass about laws in general? Well, the first 2 suspects have largely disappeared from headlines as soon as their identities were revealed and they didn't fit the narrative and the agenda of the left. Will Mauricio Garcia disappear as well? Well, if he turns out not to be a white supremacist, poof, gone, I'm sure. Hell, we still don't have the trans shooters manifesto because authorities are working overtime to bury that lead. They won't confirm what motivated Aubrey Hale, though they have the manifesto. This is sick, y'all. We've got lawless DAs, lawless politicians, a lawless president, a lawless border, and the left wants you and I, decent and law-abiding citizens, to give up our firearms and means of self-defense? No, I don't think so, buccos. In fact, this Democrat-created crime climate is more reason for us normal and decent people to stock up on all the guns we can get our hands on, so come and take it. So by now y'all heard of Jordan Neely, the mentally ill and violent homeless man who died on the subway after being restrained by a Marine veteran and other passengers. Neely was a man crying out for help, no doubt, and it is truly heartbreaking, but this is how the media is choosing to portray him, choosing to lie to you about who he was, all to stoke racial tension. But he was no angel. His record shows 42 prior arrests. One of those arrests involved the kidnapping of a 7-year-old girl in 2015. In 2019, he punched an elderly man in the face. And at the time of his death, Neely had 1 active warrant for the assault of an elderly woman in the East Village in November of 2021, where he shattered her nose and busted her eye socket. The day he was restrained and killed, he was acting erratically and threatening other passengers. But because Jordan Neely was black and the Marine is white, Neely has become the latest St. George Floyd, and the activists want you to know if a tweaked out black man threatens your life and you happen to be white, you better take it or you're a racist. In fact, you might as well just die because after the mob gets a hold of you, your life is as good as over anyway, all for defending yourself and others. And of course, BLM has resurfaced from hibernation to call for mayhem, chaos, and destruction.
I'm not playing with the city. I'm not playing with the NYPD. You can take a picture and put it up on the precinct. Talk about it. God, we don't tear the city up if we don't get some change.
Yes, we will. Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely.
Allow me to translate. Listen up, y'all. BLM needs a new cause to exploit and a martyr to loot stores, steal Gucci belts, and vandalize businesses in the name of, so it's on and poppin'. For justice, of course. Also, BLM Inc. has been waiting on ready for a new opportunity to swindle millions to buy more luxury real estate in Southern California. So if you can't physically participate in tearing down your own city, be sure to donate. That's what this is, nothing more, nothing less. It's a race bait. Joe has one foot in the nursing home and both hands in the pockets of foreign entities. Major economic powers are dropping the U.S. dollar. Hundreds of thousands of illegals are amassing to rush our border. Kids are being exploited by school administrators and or told to cut off body parts. The truth about COVID is close to being exposed. So what do white liberal Democrats do? They stoke a race war over a violent vagrant who was accidentally killed on a subway. Happens every 4 years, folks. The same people who likely walked past this man every day, not caring about his condition, not caring about his mental illness or his struggles or his misfortune, now want you to believe they revered him. Did they? Do they? If he was choked out by a black man, would they care? If he was white, would they care? I think we all know the sad answer. Jordan Neely didn't deserve to die. The system failed him, and he failed himself in a lot of ways. But to write this off as racism is not only a lie, but it's a dangerous lie. The mob will relentlessly come after the Marine who subdued Neely till his life is ruined, he's killed, or behind bars for life, all for trying to protect his fellow passengers. You know, we often see this exact kind of story where a violent vagrant beats, assaults, or rapes an innocent person as onlookers do nothing, and we wonder why. How many times have we seen videos or headlines of someone on a psychotic break pushing innocent bystanders onto subway tracks or assaulting innocent women, children, senior citizens in plain sight and are shocked that bystanders did nothing? Well, these passengers, they did something. You know, your soul can break for Jordan Neely and you can mourn his life without condemning those who restrained him. The two things are not mutually exclusive. Joining me now with his take on it all is YouTuber and cultural commentator Emery King. It's great to have you. It's been a long time, my friend.
It has. It's good to see you, Tommy. Congratulations on the marriage.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been following your Twitter account always, but especially over the weekend, because your commentary on this to me has been so important and so right on the nose. But I want to get into this a little bit. I know that you have a background that maybe people are not familiar with, and I know that this actually hits closer to home for you than it does a lot of other people. So can you explain to my audience what your initial thought was when you saw all of this Jordan Neely stuff come out?
I lived on the streets since I was 11 years old. Don't let the polo sweater in the house fool you. I had a very violent childhood. I went to my first mental home when I was 8. I went to my second one when I was 9, and my third, I believe I was 11. I was also homeless when I got out of prison and before I went to prison. And I'm not talking about a friend's couch homeless. I'm talking about street, park bench, alleyway homeless. What was available to me in my youth from these mental facilities was way more comprehensive, albeit they had me doped up on imipramine, Zoloft, and Ritalin. But when you're an adult, that's over. The best thing you're going to get from your homeless shelter is the weekly AA meeting and some clothes from the clothes closet. But we can call this for what it is, and this might be a bit of a controversial take, albeit true. Had this been a black man that choked out Jordan Neely, this would be all over World Star. Unfortunately, this is not the case. This isn't about black love. This is about white disdain. Let's not mince words, you know?
Yeah, and again, I think that the coverage of this has been so disappointing because you have an opportunity to talk about homelessness and mental health and how these Democrat-run cities and really all cities are failing these people. We clearly don't have a solution to this. If you just look at San Francisco, you look at New York City, you look at Los Angeles, I mean, the story is the same in all these major cities. These people are being failed. And we look at this and we have compassion for these people, but then you look at people who just need to ride the subway to get to and from work or to live their lives. And to me, when I saw this video and now the subsequent videos of this Marine and other passengers, by the way, who were not white, trying to restrain this man, I didn't see that and think, oh my God, they want to kill a black man. I saw that and said, hey, they're really worried that this guy who's threatening passengers is going to kill somebody and we better do something. Why do you think that has been lost in this conversation?
I'll go back to where I said it's about the disdain for white people. And this isn't I don't think this is a race thing. I think it's a cultural thing. This is not an accurate representation of the black people in my rural suburban community. They don't subscribe to this nonsense. They don't This does not, they don't identify with this particular stuff. But yeah, you said it best. It opened up an amazing opportunity for us to talk about mental health, to talk about homelessness. And, but it drives me absolutely nuts because I was sitting in the same spot that man was sitting in, where people walked over me, where people ignored me, where I was just, I was a planet out of orbit. And now to see these same people clutch their pearls, it's laughable. It's opportunistic. And I don't know how people can walk around with such zero self-awareness. This is the same people that go on American Idol and think they can sing and absolutely can't. So
I want to play some of the footage that came out yesterday showing kind of the aftermath of this and how this Marine actually acted and others that tried to restrain this man. Let's take a look at this and I want to get your thoughts.
My wife is ex-military. You gotta help our Chucko, man. Just like
Don't put him on his back, though, man. He might choke on his own spit. He might choke on his own spit and put him on his back. He's on the side, man.
Baby, he wasn't planning on getting that same Chucko that you got. So that's nice, yo. You hear me? You gotta help me train him. My wife is Desert Storm. Military. Marine. Really got that.
So when I see that, I see these people who wanted to restrain the man because they were afraid for their lives and the lives of other passengers, but I see them then trying to help him. It doesn't really look like a murder situation to me where they just wanted to kill this guy and get him out of the way. It really, what it looked like from that footage is that they wanted to restrain him, but they didn't want to kill him. They wanted to make sure he was okay. What is your take on the footage I just showed you?
Same take, but we can lead a horse to water. We can't make them drink it. Some people they're more attached to his skin color than they are to reason. And I'm hearing from I've got people that work for the MTA, and I'm hearing unsubstantiated. I don't know. It's just the allegations that this guy's a big ketamine user and was possibly on one of his ketamine highs. And similar to the George Floyd thing, where you see the knee on the neck and you're like, okay, is this what killed this man? And then it turns out he was on fentanyl and methamphetamine and tested positive for COVID SARS-2. So I think there's more to this, and there's going to be things that play a factor. But when that footage come out, it's like it's exactly what I expected. I knew that this wasn't a lynching. I knew this wasn't a modern day hanging. Oh God, there's a Klan man around every corner. These Democrats and these liberals, especially when it comes to a white person versus a black person, they constantly need a dragon to slay. And there just really doesn't exist as many dragons as they assume that there are.
I think also we need to get real about crime, especially in these major cities. I mean, I go to New York usually every weekend to go to Fox, and I see more homeless people now than I've seen in the last 7 years that I've been going to New York frequently. So to me, this is a real issue that needs to be addressed. I've also lived in LA. I've done stories in Venice Beach where these homeless people, they're firebombing each other's tents. I mean, they're fighting each other. They're shooting up drugs during the day and fighting at night. What, from your perspective, as someone who has lived this life that understands it perhaps better than most people, what is your take on how we get closer to a solution if there is one?
The Venice Beach thing, I just took my 16-year-old to LA, and we got to watch a naked woman head to toe walk right to us and right past us. It was bizarre. It was an eye-opener for her, but it this is the world we live in. The solution is such a if what was offered to me as an adult nowadays, I'm just a good actor. I act like I'm holding it together. Believe me, I'm just a father of 5 daughters, and I think they're my only sanity. But the solution, I think, is the only reason I was had the opportunity to go to such comprehensive medical clinics as a child was because my mother had insurance. Without that, everyone's fallen through the cracks. And then we go circle back to the, free healthcare, which, but there has to be a more, here's the solution, Tommy. Here's the solution. Everyone out there right now that's clutching their pearls about this black man, go down to your local homeless shelter and adopt one of these people, bring them in your home, help them, teach them, take them, put them on your insurance, take them to your mental health clinic and get them on the medications they need. Otherwise, shut up. show and prove, do something about it. That's society failed this man, not a Marine on the subway. And real quick, I offered my guest suite to that man on the subway. I tweeted it out. If he sees this, free room and board. Get you out of the city.
I think we need to get closer to something here, because I don't think throwing the money at the homelessness and the mental health crisis, I don't think that it's working. I mean, you see in Los Angeles all the time, they have these huge props that people vote on where they want to dedicate millions of dollars to low-income housing, or they want to build tiny homes for people. But if you don't address the addiction and you don't address the underlying issue, you can build these people mansions. It's not going to matter. They're still going to shoot up drugs. They're still going to be violent. They're still going to be tweaking all day long. It's really not helpful to just build people things or to just hand them money. I mean, I think it's getting to the core of this. But another thing that frustrates me is that ever since this has happened, every time that there is a tragedy like this and Republicans talk about mental health, the Democrats say, well, you wanted to cut funding for mental health. Well, it's because now Democrats include counseling young people to cut off their own body parts as mental health. And no, you're right, we don't support that, because this gender affirming care that has now been attached to mental health is not something that we're going to subscribe to. But they lump it in all together, and then they say that we just don't care about the mentally ill.
Yeah, the left is notorious for putting these bills together that'll say we want to assign puberty blockers to kids. We want to give $75,000 for white rabbit preservation, whatever. They go down, they put on all this stuff, and then at the very end they'll say, and also we want to give $10,000 to the VA. And then when the Republicans see all the pork in there, and they're like, no, we're not voting on this. Then it's, you don't care about the VA. You don't care about veterans. And you know what? The left, the liberals, the Democrats out there, they go for it every time, hook, line, and sinker. They don't even read the bills.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the frustration, but unfortunately, we don't get ahead of it and we don't message it correctly. So it also lies on our shoulders that we're not reaching these people, these low information viewers and voters. We're not getting to them before all the propaganda does. That's part of the problem here. Last thing I want to address with you, we've got an invasion that's about ready to kick off. I mean, some would say it's been kicking off for the last 2 years, 6 million plus people, but it's about to get a whole hell of a lot worse. There's 700,000 already amassing, ready to rush our border. They're just strolling in like it's flipping Disney World. That's another part of this conversation I think people are forgetting and leaving out. These major cities are going to be inundated now with illegal immigrants, not to mention border cities and towns. So if you were worried about homelessness and mental health care and rehabilitation before, now add millions of people with no legal right to be here. And I think we've got a recipe for disaster on our hands. I don't think it's going to get much better.
Well, we've got an election on the horizon. What better than to bring in some more people to vote for Biden or whoever's running? My heart goes out to the migrants that were struck by the SUV the other day. But why isn't Abbott doing anything? At some point, you have to make an executive decision, and federal government aside, you have a duty and an oath to the citizens of your state and the mayors as well. I mean, if I'm the governor of Texas, there is no way I'm allowing just people. After 9/11, we shouldn't be having this conversation. On 9/12, that southern border and northern border should have been absolutely sealed off. I'm sorry, we're full.
No, I agree. And it's about to get a whole lot worse. And unfortunately, because they also label that racism, we're not allowed to discuss that either. Too bad neither one of us care. I think we got to get to the truth. Thank you for sharing your story. I always appreciate your Twitter. I always appreciate you telling it like it is, no matter if it pisses people off or not. And it's great to see you, my friend.
Hey, I'll piss them off. I can fight. I ain't worried about it. Tommy, good seeing you. Tell the husband I said hello.
I definitely will. Thank you so much.